All right, everybody, are you ready for a brand new DC update? And boy, have a lot of things happened since my video yesterday. We had the Flash premiere last night. We're going to talk about some of the comments by Ezra Miller. We're going to talk about how he appeared during that event. We're going to talk about James Gunn being on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast, and we're going to talk about all the stuff he dished about the DCU, Superman, and stuff to look forward to here in the future, and how he views superhero films. We have a lot to go over today, so let's get started. So the first thing I wanted to mention here today is that Superman and Lois has been renewed for a shortened Season 4 at the CW. Well, the show's already short to begin with, so I'm wondering if they're just going to maybe do 9 to 10 episodes. Who knows what they're going to end up doing. But we will get at least one season, one last season on the CW. Hopefully they shift it over to HBO Max. But this, if they go through with this would end the show before the the new Superman Legacy film comes out. And so they would only have one Superman in film or TV show at that stage. So I have a feeling that it is going to end with Season 4 officially, but we will find out when it airs next year. With that same news comes that Gotham Knights has been canceled officially, which I thought had already happened. I don't think anybody expected this show to go on anyway. I didn't even give it a chance. It looked like utter garbage. And I'm sure that's what it was. I don't even know how it got greenlit in the first place, but it is officially canceled. All right, so one of the big things that happened yesterday, they had the official Flash premiere. And here is Ezra Miller at this premiere. And it was very awkward to watch him walk outside and take pictures because this is the look he had on his face the entire time, like he was drugged up. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but he really didn't change his expression. A few times it looked like he was trying to smile but couldn't smile. It was very awkward. He had this very blank look on his face, and you could tell that his leash has been reined in. They don't want to parade him around. He did get around to thanking both Andy Muschietti, Barbara Muschietti. He thanked Zack Snyder. He basically thanked Warner Brothers. He thanked everybody for their care and their devotion. So behind the scenes, he is getting care currently, so hopefully he can get healthy, and we'll see what the future holds for him, after this film. So here's again that what I just talked about. Ezra Miller thanks Warner Brothers, Zack Snyder, James Gunn, and more at the Flash premiere. So there he is, trying to crack a smile. Like I said, he had that blank look on his face the entire time he was there. All right, so let's talk about this Michael Rosenbaum Inside of You podcast. All right, so there was an hour-and-a-half episode of Inside of You by Michael Rosenbaum, and his guest was James Gunn. And so I'm going to go over kind of everything that they discussed, some important things, but you can go check out the whole interview. A lot of it had to do with a lot of personal stuff with James Gunn, like his father passing away. They talked about at the end. He talked a little bit about how he felt like he was never accepted by people, and that when he got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, when he originally got fired after Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out, that he was at the lowest point in his life and felt like nobody loved him. And he kind of felt like an outcast all the way up until he accepted, what was happening. And, he married his wife and kind of moved on after all of that, getting fired at Disney. But they eventually brought him back. So here's what's interesting about the thing. First of all, the whole first part of the podcast all had to do with sexual stuff. It was they were talking about lap dances, bachelor parties, all kinds of stuff. It was all sexual in nature, which, if you know his past, I don't think was a big surprise. But that I was kind of surprised that that's what they focused on at the beginning of this conversation. They then talked about him going into the head of the studio, and he talked about how a tremendous responsibility is, but he's learned how to manage his time. And one thing he made clear during this interview is the fact that he is really not the head of the studio. He is there to write, direct, and also help produce, but he is going to be the mastermind behind everything that goes on. down there, but that the one really running the studio is Peter Safran, and he revealed that he actually got the job because they are lifelong friends. So it wasn't necessarily on merit. I know that they're looking to do stuff on a budget, and that was one thing that James Gunn touted during the interview, is that he always comes in under budget, and studios like that. But if you look at stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy, especially the third one, there were definitely some cheap special effects in there, and especially with the Flash film. And what was funny is, some people have, gone out and done some reviews after the Flash, and they said they really did not enhance the special effects like they said they were, that what we saw from the CinemaCon viewing was it, and that it does look pretty cheap. And so I'll be able to tell with the Batman sequence at the beginning, when he's on the highway, I'll be able to tell if they definitely fixed those special effects or not. We'll definitely, I'll be seeing that here in a couple of days, and I will have a new review up when that happens. So he then goes on to talk about getting the gig for Superman, and he did confirm, and he talked about he was contacted to do the Superman thing way early on in the whole process. So way earlier, obviously, than everybody had thought or had anticipated. So again, I think Warner Brothers has been very deceptive with the things that they have done. And, you go back to Black Adam when they had Henry Cavill go out on the circuit and claim that he was back. That was at the studio's request, knowing that they probably weren't going to bring him back. And what's crazy about that is Black Adam was the highest grossing movie, I think, since Aquaman. And so things were on the right track, but they didn't want to give it a chance, and they just decided to blow everything up. And that's where we are today, and that's why these movies are suffering. They've upset the fans. They've made it very clear they don't care about the fans. They only care about the general audience, and so that's why the whole Flashpoint storyline is a bastardization of the actual real Flashpoint storyline. But I digress. I've covered that in many videos. So going back to his interview here, he talked about superhero fatigue, and he doesn't think that there is superhero fatigue. He said what he thinks is going on is the fact that everything is the same. People are tired of the same thing, the same look, the same feel, the same everything. And he goes, it's time to change it up and give it a different aesthetic. And that's one of the things he touted about Superman, is they're trying to get the aesthetic very the way he wants it to be, something that is very different from anything else that's ever been done before. Now, that makes me a little nervous, a statement like that he wants a look like nothing that's ever been put out before. And that's what they're working to perfect right now. And he goes on to say that everything looks the same, it feels the same, and they're going to do something different with the DCU. He did confirm that the first official film of the DCU is Superman Legacy, that it is not Blue Beetle or Aquaman. So we're not going to see the end of the DCEU until the end of Aquaman 2. How they're going to work that in there, I don't know. But he did say that is the first official movie, and that the first official project is Creature Commandos, and they're actually in the middle of recording and producing that right now as we speak. And he said it'll be out in about a year from now. So it'll definitely be out next summer. We can expect that. He then goes on to talk about a lot of the rumors out there. And he talked about how he hates Twitter. Well, not that he hates Twitter, but he sees Twitter as like the garbage pile, although he's on there all the time, which amazes me. Go to a different platform. Use something like Vero. Zack Snyder's on there all the time, and he posts some cool stuff. You can go there, and if everyone knows how Twitter is, and I've seen it myself, you can certainly go to a different platform to lay your foundation. Why he chooses Twitter, he didn't explain. But he goes on there to talk about how there is no truth to the rumor that Krypto is in the Superman film. He said that that's just a rumor that started because he was talking with Chris Pratt and people ran with it. So he said there is no truth to that rumor at all. He didn't necessarily deny it, but he didn't say that Krypto is definitely in the film. He also talked about the rumors of everybody who is auditioning for Superman. He goes, some of what's out there is real and some of it is way wrong. He goes, but that is something that is private between me and those individuals that are auditioning. But he goes, everyone out there, some people have some of the stuff right, but he goes, some of it is very, very wrong, and those people are not auditioning. And he said it's really rough for those actors because they're seeing their name thrown around all over YouTube videos all over media when they may not be auditioning at all, and it upsets them. And so he said that the only people that really know are them. But there are things that are getting out, obviously, and getting leaked. So he didn't drop any major announcements other than the fact that this movie is going to have a very different look than anything else that has been released out there, and that he wants to change it up. And I'll go back and I will defend that we had that with everything through Aquaman. We had a more serious, a more grounded superhero reality that if they would have just followed through with the slate that they had, we wouldn't be where we are today. If they had followed through with the Batman solo film with Ben Affleck, had they done the Cyborg movie, Flash would have come out a lot earlier, and you would have had the true Flashpoint with Bruce Wayne, with Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Batman's dad. I think we wouldn't be where we are today. I think things would be completely different, and I do stand by that. And I think people know that that is true. They just don't want to admit it. But we'll see where this goes in the future. I'll continue to cover all of the DC stuff and bring you guys all this information as it gets released. We will see you on the next video.